Welcome to the channel. This is Go Gretty, and welcome to the 2023-2024 Gran Turismo World Series Manufacturers Cup Exhibition Season 2, round number 4. And tonight we are at Dragon Trail Gardens in the Group 3 cars in GT1 League. And this one is a 5X tire wear race. So, man almighty, you have got to work hard to stay fast and keep your tires underneath you. So stick around. Check it out. Okay, looking at the points total for Chevrolet, I'm sitting in fourth with 431 points. I would really like to replace that 200, and if I could get it above a 231, I think I'm going to take that. Sitting at 132 in the region, first in my local areas, and then on the friends list, I'm sitting at number 10. So it'd be nice to be able to move up the friends list a little bit as well, if at all possible. Got to have those bragging rights. Lobby opens up, and I am door number 2 in this lobby, which means I have the second highest points. Just want to point that out to you, Crabster, because you were down there in fourth. So, got to put in a good qualifier, though, if I want to do well in this lobby, because I got to tell you what, there's a bunch of fast folks in there. I don't know if they just didn't do well last week, or they took some hits in some daily races or what, but there's some folks on that list, and I'm pretty sure should probably have higher DR than me, because I know they're pretty quick fellas. So as we get into the first qualifying lap, I'm trying not to overdrive the car. Just want to put in what I mean, like a banker lap where it's just not absolutely horrible. I know with the medium tires, it takes a little while to get the heat into them. So it just doesn't feel like the car is quite gripping up yet. I was kind of messing with my brake balance a little bit. I've been qualifying with 2 to the rear on the brake balance. Going into the hairpins, I was thinking about putting it in 1 to the rear instead, get a little extra braking. The more you move it towards the front, you tend to get a little shorter distance braking, but it's really hard on your front tires, and you're not going to get that rotation that you get when you put the brake balance towards the rear of the car. So get that brake balance towards the rear of the car, you get a little more of that rotation. So up 0.3 on my last time in that last sector. That would put me into the 131 ranges, which is where I want to be. I want to be in a low 131. In the practice lobbies, I've been steadily putting in between a 131.5 and a 131.8 and dropping them in there like that. Of course, wind speed and direction has been changing throughout the lobbies as well as this race, so not really sure how they all equate to one another just because the wind can affect your lap times, but I'm hoping to get something in the low 131. So cross the line there with the 131.731 puts me in Q7 for now. But I have time to put in another lap, so I'm going to push on it a little harder since I'm in P7, and I want to try and climb up just a couple more spots, if at all possible. Only 0.6 to pole right now, which is the Art driver up there in P1 with the 131.062. So as I come out of the chicane, I'm feeling like I've got a pretty decent drive coming down this straight. Wasn't able to hold it flat over the second stall, so sometimes if you take the angle just right, you can hold it flat through there. Wasn't able to do that, so not going to be a super lap, but it still should be a pretty solid lap. Felt good coming out of the hairpin. Got the power down nice and steady, smooth on the gas coming out of there. Getting on the brakes early enough to transition to the right there. The Corvette does not like to turn in this section of the course. These 2 turns really struggles through there, and then down through the triplets here at the bottom of the hill. 0.165 seconds over my best time, so that's going to put me into a 131.5 zone. So I am just licking my chops right now. I'm like, all right, now I'm ready. Don't do anything stupid in these last double apex, in these last 2 turns. I guess we call it a triple apex. You got 2 on the inside and 1 on the outside, but just need to get it through here into second gear, roll it through, roll it back on the throttle, come out the other side. Don't spin the car. Don't get wiggly in the rear end to lose that time. Just tried to get the traction down, came across the line with a 131.4. Super pumped about that. That had me in Q6. I was like, yeah, starting there in the top 8, top 10 is always nice. Then got jumped by Mr. Jeeks right there near the end. Moved me down to Q7 to start the race, but no shame in that. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a 5X tire wear race, but it's only 15 laps, so no need to pit and get tires, but you gotta make them last, and it is no easy task to go around here quickly and get these tires to last, especially on this Corvette. It's not terrible on tires, but it's not the best on tires either, especially with me driving it, who tends to be hard on tires anyway. So starting off the race, brake balance 5 to the rear, roll it back up to 3, head into the chicane, and I want to get right on that rear bumper of Vegetators. I've been, in the practice lobbies practicing going over the chicane, right behind other cars. Vegetators gets a little wide, maybe the cold tires, and then if you don't notice, I did get a Gretty pass right there on that Subaru. But heading down door to door with Vegetators, heading into the hairpin as he had a rough exit out of the chicane, get alongside, power out in second gear, slide down in front of him. So able to pick up 2 positions there before the end of lap 1. So looking good. Let's go back and see what happened to that Subaru as he's going through the chicane here. He is behind Crabster, who managed to grab pole position. And as he comes out, just too much of the pendulum on the rear of that Subaru, is unable to gather it up. Ends up swapping paint with the barricade. And well, that's not going to be good for his race, folks. That's just not a way to do it. I almost do the same thing there coming out of that left-hander as the rear end starts coming around on me on the vet, but able to gather it back up, put her back into third gear, and start going through the triplets. My strategy through the triplets was just to keep a tight inside line. Don't get silly flirting with the marbles on the outside and flying off the track. If you angled it just right, it was a little bit quicker if you let it drift out before you got on your final throttle input, but you really had to flirt with the track limits there. And man, if you just go over a little too much, it would suck you off into the marbles. And I said, well, let's just keep that tight inside line. If I really need to try and nail it, I'll do that. Now looking again, you'll notice again my brake balance goes 5 to the rear in corner 1. And then as I approach the chicane, I go brake balance 3 to the rear. I'm trying to use the rear tires as much as I can in that sweeper, trying to keep the pressure off my front tires. That right front tire is the one that is just getting absolutely hammered. Now, if you look behind me here, Vegetators coming out of the chicane just nicks the curbing there with his right tires and gets a half-second penalty. So Vegetators putting the pressure on me. I'm trying to put the pressure on Mr. Jeeks, but Vegetators just cutting a little too much of that chicane and unable to keep from getting that penalty. I get in the back of Mr. Jeeks coming in the hairpin. Just a little love tap there. Nothing big, nothing bad. I think that's the closest I've been to Jeeks yet in this race, and I'm hoping to get closer. Now as we move towards the mid and end of lap 2, looking behind me. Now remember, Vegetators has that half-second penalty. You don't see it up there. Now behind him, P7, 8, and 9 are licking their chops. They see that half-second penalty that's above his head in the game, and they are ready to pounce. Now luckily for Vegetators, this is about the best penalty zone in GT7. It's actually about what it says it's supposed to be, a half-second. So he's able to slip back in line, only loses 2 spots, but then Spartan Big Ice with the move down the inside on iBomble, aka Player 1 in the Supra. So big move there by Spartan Big Ice to pick up quite a few spots in that section of track, but ends up letting him back through in turn 1, as when he made that move back there, the rear end got a little loose, made some contact. So watching the replay, it looked like he decided to go ahead and let iBomble back through and take that position back. So he slides back into P7. I get through the chicane alive again on lap number 3. On to lap number 4, only a half-second to iBomble as he is coming up quickly in that Supra. Now I'm a little bit concerned. I don't want to push on the tires too hard, especially this early in the race, but I need to hold off this hard charging Supra here on lap 4 and upcoming laps, because he caught right back up pretty quick. And I was doing about everything I could to keep up with Mr. Jeeks and P3, the ARC driver there. And I was like, man, if this Supra's catching up to me like this, either he's killing his tires to catch up with me, or he's just got really darn good pace here at the Gardens. And if that's the case, I am in trouble. I can defend here, but I don't know for how long. I mean, this is a hard track to pass on. You've got to have the guy in front of you either make a mistake, or you've got to just have an excellent run out of the corner to be able to put a move on someone. So on to lap number 5, going through the chicane yet again, riding the sausages nice and clean. telling you the best way to learn how to ride those sausages, folks. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. That's just all there is to it. All there is to it. Super with a really good run out of the chicane, going around the outside. Old Gretty, he's gonna try that outside line on the old man, but I'm ready for it. Drop it into second and power out. Just lay it down right there, coming out, able to hold it off, able to hold off that Super coming out of the hairpin. Now he's looking for an alternative line to see if he can set Gretty up for a pass. Comes in pretty quick on the back end, but he's got nowhere to go as the big Corvette is just parked right there on the apex waiting for him. Tries, a little bit of an outside in line going through the triplets, but luckily the Corvette's got pretty good top end, so I'm not too threatened by the Super's top speed like some of the other cars are that are really good in the corners but don't quite have that top end to be able to hold off that Super. I know if I can keep about 2-3 tenths on him here heading into the straight, I should be able to hold him off going into corner one. And as I pull out the final corner there, I'll have about 3 tenths on him, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's just enough to be able to keep that inside line as you head in to corner number one. So heading back towards the chicane here as we're coming out of turn one, the long sweeping left-hander getting on the brakes there at the start of the curbing and just trying to take a good clean line through the chicane, straddle that first sausage. Now look, as I'm straddling the second sausage, the Super loses sight of it and just touches the red part of the curbing with his outside tires, and that, folks, well, that is cheating. That's a half-second penalty. So caught for cheating, riding those sausages a little too tight, and he gets the half-second penalty. Comes flying in there at the hairpin, but I know that he's going to have to serve it coming up here on the penalty zone, and that is going to put him into the clutches of P7 and P8, and I'm hoping that that causes a little bit of battling back there, because I could use a little bit of breathing room as I'm doing, like I said, all I can to try and keep up with Mr. Jeeks. I've been kind of falling in and out of their slipstream, but I have not been able to hold it for any type of consistent laps. So if you look in the rearview mirror here, as he hits this penalty zone, you can watch that time differential drop past a second, as I'm able to put about a nice 6 tenths, 7 tenths gap onto my Bomble there, as he has to serve his penalty. On to lap number 7. Got about a 1 second gap to Mr. Jeeks in front of me, about a 1 second gap to Bomble behind me. So at the halfway point, the question is, how are the tires stacking up? Well, if we look at the leader here, Crabster, his tires about halfway worn, rear's a little worse. Now the Genesis looks quite a bit better, the AMG even better than the Genesis. The next AMG P4 also looking pretty good there. Really good tire wear with half the race remaining. Mine's a little worse for wear, but not quite as bad as P1. P6 in the Super, his tires look a little bit better than mine. P7 also in the AMG, I'm looking about like me and P6. And then finally P8, the Nissan, that front right looks pretty rough for the Nissan. So the car behind me equal maybe a tad bit better tire wear. The cars in front of me definitely with better tire wear. That would explain why I'm struggling to keep up with them as the race is going. They seem to just barely be just extending their lead a little further and a little further. You see here on lap 8, they're 1.2 seconds in front of me, but I've got 1.1 to Bomble behind me, and I'm feeling like he's not really catching up anymore. Lap 10, 1.6 to Bomble behind me, still 1 second to those folks in front. Now behind me, you've got basically going on a 4-way battle for P6, and that is going to help me greatly as you see them side by side heading into the technical section here at Dragon Trail Gardens. Look at the Super and the Nissan battling for positions. They go through the left-hander, heading towards the triplets here. Now we've got the RCF making a pass around the outside of the Nissan. He's unable to quite make it stick as he gets in the marbles there in the triplets. The Super maintaining that front position. Got another Super in the back making his way up to the front, trying to get his nose out in front of these 3 drivers in front of him, see if he can't find a way to slip through there. Makes a move down the inside of the RCF into the final 2 turns before the long straight. Now it's going to be a drag race between the RCF and the Super. The RCF has the slipstream of the Nissan as they head down the straight, but the slipstream not gonna be enough as the Super's able to pull it out heading into corner 1. On the end of lap number 21, all that battling gives me a 3.1 second lead. And then further along into lap number 13, I'm able to extend it out to about 3.4 seconds to that group behind me, with Celso being the one that just passed everyone in that Supra. So now I've got to hold off that hard charging Supra here with 2.5 laps to go, but I feel pretty good about that with a 3.4 second lead. In the practice lobbies, folks started to catch me for this reason here. Tire wear. If you look at P1, his right rear tire completely toast. P2 definitely got some tire left on that Genesis. P3 here on lap number 14 looks pretty darn good in the AMG, as does the following AMG. Then old Gretty, who's in P5, front right tire is looking pretty rough. Rear tire not too bad. Super better tires than Gretty, and the RCF about the same. So the Super is making a good run at me with a little bit better tires here at the end of the race. You see he's down to 2.3 seconds on lap number 14. So he cut a second lead out of this last, well, 3/4 of a lap. Still some time to go as the lead is now down to 2.2 seconds as we hit these final 2 apexes before we go on to the straight. Not, like I said, I'm not too worried about it. I do have tire left. I do have some front left tire remaining on the rim there. So you see there's a sliver of white down in that lower right-hand corner of that right front tire. And I'm going to use every bit of it here on this last lap to make sure that Super does not catch up to me. Now, Celso, I'm sure he is thinking other things. He's probably gritting his teeth trying to catch up to me without getting rid of what's remaining of his tires. But we'll see if he can pull it off or not. Now, I've had others catch me in the practice lobbies. Like I said, this Corvette, it's okay in the corners and it's pretty strong on the straight, but it is not the strongest on tire wear, at least not in the hands of old Gretty here. So go into the hairpin, drop it down into first, rotate the car back into second, powering out, and looks pretty good. I've got 1.3 seconds. Just got this little technical section here, like I said, not the Corvette's favorite part of the track, that's for sure. And then if we get through this left-hander without curb glitching out here, this big curb right here has a tendency to throw you off, spin you out. Get through there, okay. Now I just got to get through the triplets without getting off to the left, off into the marbles, and ruining my line there as I managed to hit all 4 apexes of the triplets. I know that makes no sense. Why do I call it the triplets when there's 4 apexes? Probably because I thought there was only 3. that's my best explanation. Oh, as we come through the final 2 corners, I've got a 0.86 second lead as the Super has really reeled me in this last couple of laps, but I'm able to hold them off as we head down the straight for the final race of Exhibition Season 2 and get a P5 in the second split lobby. The question is, what kind of points is Gretty going to get for that really nice position? First, applause from the factory team as I'm able to bring home a nice result for Corvette after all the hard work there. And then we finally get to see the points. 268, that's my highest total of the season. I would need like 400 points in the race to be able to move into P2 for Corvette. So knowing that that's not going to happen, I'm taking these points because this is giving me that podium depending on what Equus I'm down. So what did the final point tally end up looking like? Let's have a quick look. Open up my reward sheet, and first in East Baton Rouge, first in Louisiana, do grab that 3rd spot for Corvette. So must have squeaked it just by Equus and P100 in the Americas. So I will take it. I'm in the top 100. I like it, and get 3.6 million credits to boot for all the effort. Hope you enjoyed all the races this exhibition season. If you did, hit the like and or subscribe. Come back, check out some more. For myself, go Gretty. Y'all have a great evening.